Liverpool are really on top form in this first half. Nishi. That's a good spot by the defender. Now it goes into the wider areas where they've got a winger waiting. Here's Milner. It's a quick break. And shoots! Quick reaction time here. Keeper saved it, but it's still alive here. Jordan Henderson. He's got his shot off now. That will go down as a routine stop. Threading it through, and Mane's in on goal. Shot on! Supremely done against the goalkeeper by Sadio Mane.
You know what you're getting, but stopping Mane is another question altogether.
They are playing well. Their superiority increased really with this goal.
Well, you can only see more goals coming their way, the way they played.
I don't think we expected this, such a one-sided affair, but look at the scoreline. Just working away to try and find an opening. And that's going to be a goal kick. Here's a replay again of the goal. Fabinho. An incisive pass. Put into the box by Mane. Oh, that's what we've come to see. That's a brilliant goal. Ruled out here, it was offside.
Well, the lad took it well, but quite rightly the linesman flag goes up.
This is going to clear it up for us, Alan, I think.
Well, looking at the goal scorer, he was convinced he'd timed his run, but looking at it, that's a great decision by the assistant.
Jordan Henderson. Excellent challenge. Must score! Hit the post! Never panicked. Placed it past the goalkeeper. Well, there is a big difference between these two teams, and that goal has meant it's reflected in the scoreline.
I think it's going to be a stroll from here on in because they've got a big cushion, rightly so, well in the lead.
One team really on their game today, the other very off colour. Poor attempt at a pass, really. Good vision. The ball's loose. Goalkeeper made the save, but he couldn't hold it. And the goalkeeper's got it at last. And this time, in a way where he can take the heat out of the situation. It was pretty hot for him just before that, wasn't it? And what a very good save.
Well, you saw how he moved about the goal there. He really...
Should be a chance here for Mane. Trying to run off the shoulder of the last player, offside.
That is a weakness in his game. Gets caught offside too many times.
bit predictable with the passing and the opposition able to deal with that. Good vision. In with a chance. Shots on here. And they've got in to score here.
Well, he's not far out, but you've got to be on your toes in these circumstances, and he was.
I have to say, it's so one-sided today, but all credit to the team that are racking up the goals. He's in. Offside given, Alan.
Oh, I'm not sure he's got that one right, you know. I think he was on.
Nishi. Tanaka. The breakaway doesn't quite happen for this team. Can really get at the opposition here. And shoots! He really gave it the laces there, didn't he, Alan?
Yeah, he did connect with it beautifully. Not a bad effort at all.
It's a good place to win the ball here. Jordan Henderson. Shot on! A goal! He took it with great aplomb. I'm sure getting the first goal gave him the confidence to grab the second chance here. I don't think we expected this, such a one-sided affair, but look at the scoreline. And they've got it away from the danger. Liverpool will get the throw. Jordan Henderson. Fabinho. Now the shot! He scored! Two for him on the day, and two very well taken goals. Well, sometimes games take a while to ignite. Not this one, not for this team. Oh, he's through. And it's a goal! It's his third goal. It's a hat-trick today. He's really been on form. Well, there is a saying that things come in threes. They come in threes for him, a hat-trick.
Not just 3 goals, but he's played really well. His overall game has been top class today.
Well, this is a truly outstanding start to the game. A fantastic first half. Robertson trying to find an opening. Not panicking. Henderson. Salah. It's Liverpool who score. Well, scoring in any game is worthy of celebration. When you get 2, it is special, and he is feeling that special delight at the moment. An amazing first half in this game. Have a look at that scoreline. Poor on the ball. It's looking good, this move. Here's Kanamori. And the defender is able here. Well, that's the half-time whistle here, and the score... Well, we wait to see what the second half brings. The first half was conclusive, but you don't win the game at half-time. It's Salah now. Threads it through. Mane with the cross. He has cleared it well. Wonderful interception. That's proper clearance. Well away from the danger zone. Milner. Shots on here, and he's put it in for the goal. 3 of the best, he's made them pay, and that completes a wonderful hat-trick. Well, Alan, maybe that's the one he'll treasure the most, because it's given him the hat-trick.
Yeah, and he'll be taking home that match ball with a great deal of pride.
I have to say, it's so one-sided today, but all credit to the team that are racking up the goals. Right man in the right place. Good vision here. what we get to see, of course. Of course, the assistants don't. Whether that'll change down the years, I'm not sure. But anyway, the replay here shows he's got it right.
He has. I mean, there was no real goal-scoring chance, but the defence would be pleased that their organisation caught him off.
There is a lot of interest in this player, but from what I'm hearing, Alan, the offer that's going to come in on the table, a definite offer, is from Liverpool. Guiding it through the defenders. It's offside, that's what the assistant has said.
Well, when he looks back on that, I think he might be a bit disappointed because the striker seemed to time his run really well.
Read the play well. Joel Matip. Milner. And here's the shot. And they blocked it then. Mohamed Salah trying to get in behind just a little too eagerly then.
He could give the defender a yard, you know, and still get there.
A substitution now for Liverpool. James Milner. Short passes, but they're keeping the ball. It was put into the right area, but no one able to reach the cross. On the attack with real gusto a moment or two ago, but it rather left them dismayed in the end. Fabinho looking for a through ball. Supremely done against the goalkeeper by Sadio Mane.
You know what you're getting, but stopping Mane is another question altogether.
Well, scoring in any game is worthy of celebration. When you get two, it is special, and he is feeling that special delight at the moment. One team really on their game today, the other very off colour. That's an easy cutout for the opposition, saw the pass coming. Strike, this could be a chance. He really fancied him to score, but the goalkeeper kept his beliefs and kept him out.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be asking where his defenders were, but cometh the hour, he stepped up there, didn't he, the keeper?
In goes the corner. Good defensive clearance there. It's a corner again. What a good player we knew he was before the game started. He's just emphasised that in this performance.
Well, I'm sure the manager will want to know why he's received the ball so many times in these kind of areas and why he's been allowed to pop up to get his goals.
Cleared away by the defender. Oh, he's cut that out well read. Now, can he take them on? Fabinho. Now the shot! Well, the kind of save that you make after training every day for that kind of situation from close range. And the manager, Alan, is making this change here. Substitution will take place.
Well, he's done his bit. He got the goal that put his team in the lead. Can they hold that lead?
And in it goes. That's frustrating to the coaches to see a corner there defended at the front post so easily. It's a corner coming up yet again. Corner played in. It's a brave effort, really, in amongst the players to get the header in, but off target, way off target.
Yeah, not his best effort, that's for sure.
Now Sadio Mane. Still 20 minutes to go. Bit predictable with the passing and the opposition able to deal with that. I think the wide man's got a chance here. There's space out near the touchline. Swung in by Nathaniel Klein. And somehow he's hooked it in over his head. Well, just look at it again. He reached away from the goal and somehow hooked the ball over his shoulder and into the top corner.
Well, how on earth did he do that? Amazing, quite spectacular.
I don't think we expected this, such a one-sided affair, but look at the scoreline. Sometimes being a favourite in a match can... Guiding it through the defenders. Just the keeper to beat. And it's a goal! It's no goal, the flag's up.
It's certainly a well-worked move, but denied by the assistant.
Fabinho. Just a mistake, really. He's not even asked too much of the opponent. It's just a mishit pass. No nonsense defending from him. Chance for the cross. Pulls it back now. Had a real chance to get in at goal then. Good position. They've worked this attack very well. Great save by a diving goalkeeper. Well, the corner count rises and rises. Swung in from the corner. Got up well, but couldn't keep it down.
Oh, the keeper was rooted to the spot, wasn't going to get there.
Ten minutes left of regular time. Threading it through. It's Sadio. This could be it. And shoots! A succession of corners here. He's reached it and turned it aside. Corner played into the middle. It's a corner again. He's put in the corner. Just too high, just over with the header.
Yeah, nice firm connection, unlucky.
Well, we've been locked in this position for a while. It's probably the longest period in the game where the losing team really in the clear now. Wonderful save. Had to really reach out for that. Well, that is another corner. Corner swung in. It's a goal! The defence failed to deal with it, and the corner has opened the way to the goal.
Always disappointing to concede a goal from a corner, and they just didn't get set for me.
A very comfortable margin for victory. Can't really be any comeback in the time that we've got left with such a difference between the two teams. Now Endo. Cut out by the defender. He's still going. It's a quick break. It's opened up. It's Liverpool who score. Well, this is rubbing salt in some pretty gaping wounds here.
Well, they just won't let up, will they? They're going to go to the final whistle.
It is now an extraordinary lead, and you could say really game over. Oh, he's through. Got to keep his nerve here. Good vision. It's a fine stop. A full stretch from the keeper to turn that aside. Wonderful goal. Ruled out here. It was offside.
Well, the lad took it well, but quite rightly the linesman flag goes up.
What did you make of it, Alan?
Well, I thought he was onside, you know, but he's gone through and tucked it away. But looking at the replay, yes, he had gone a bit early.
Got to pass the ball a bit better than this if they're going to make progress. Giving it straight away. An incisive pass. Sadio Mane. Klein. And that's That's a fantastic goal. It's offside, that's what the assistant has said.
Well, when he looks back on that, I think he might be a bit disappointed because the striker seemed to time his run really well.
He's cut it out. And that's the final whistle from the referee.